If synthetic braiding hair really is just a type of plastic fiber and we're encouraged to recycle our plastics, I have not been recycling my synthetic hair. Is it even possible to recycle synthetic hair? Why am I researching this stuff? Quick introduction, my name is Nadia. So in a previous video, I talked about synthetic braiding hair and the fact that they contain endocrine disrupting chemicals, and we went into what all of that even means. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about synthetic braiding hair and recycling, why that even matters to begin with. Let's get into the video. I have my laptop with me, and then of course disclaimer, I'm not a subject matter expert in any of this. This is literally me and you having a conversation. We are not demonizing or shaming or chastising anyone that chooses to use synthetic braiding hair, because just like everything else, it's choosing the lesser of the other many evils that are out there. So going back to synthetic braiding hair, it's typically made of plastic fiber. So the kanekalons, the toyokalons, oh my gosh, let me tell you about how much more hyper just alert I've been of how much plastic is around us. I open my fridge, it's like plastic, plastic, plastic. So yes, another thing too is we can shame someone for using synthetic hair, but we are exposed to plastic in so many other ways. So again, one finger is pointing at someone else, but remember that there's three others pointing right back at you. But I've become so hyper aware of the amount of plastic that is around us, and basically synthetic hair is a form of that plastic. The only difference with synthetic braiding hair is that it's treated with additional chemicals that sort of enhance the durability, enhance the shine. We're not going to go in depth on that because there's a separate video that I had made around all of that. So here we're just going to focus on what we're here to focus on. So basically synthetic braiding hair is not recyclable in the traditional sense. It's not accepted by most local recycling programs. Trust me, I looked. And it's also not biodegradable. So what does biodegradable mean? It's not capable of being decomposed by bacteria and other living organisms. It's important for things to be able to be decomposed and degradable so that they can then be reused in one way or another. So when we start disrupting the flow of how things are moving in the ecosystem, it affects us. And if it doesn't affect us now, it's going to affect our generations to come. Why is there so much talk around use less plastics? There's a lot of reasons why it's important to reduce our exposure to plastics, and in the separate video that I mentioned, I speak specifically on synthetic braiding hair, but just plastics in general. A lot of plastics contain chemicals, BPA and phthalates, which we talked about in the other video, and they can be linked to health issues, including reproductive problems, including diabetes and certain cancers. When we talk about nanoplastics, so as plastics break down, when they do break down, they form tiny particles that are called microplastics. These particles are increasingly found in air, water, and food that you and I consume, bottled water, seafood, and even table salt. And so knowing all of this, let's go back to synthetic braiding hair, which is a form of plastic. So because it's non-biodegradable, it does not break down easily. When we throw them away, it just ends up in landfills, which is where all of our waste usually ends up. And it sits there for thousands and thousands of years without breaking down. So I'm only thinking about the amount of synthetic hair that I've used in my little lifetime, and then I'm thinking about maybe that my family's used in its little lifetime, and then I'm thinking about a community, and then I'm thinking about generations. It's like, when it sits in landfills or the ocean, it can release microplastics and chemicals that then affect the soil and the water and the air that we breathe. Not only do we let it sit on our heads and rub against our skin and potentially enter our pores, endocrine disrupting chemicals, again, different video on that, go check it out. But we are also ingesting it. We're eating it, we are swallowing it. When we drink our water, we are swallowing it. When we are eating our food, our seafood, or because we're swallowing it. When we're eating some wildlife that ingested microplastics, we are eating the wildlife that has microplastics, and so we are swallowing it. And so being able to recycle these fibers is not only beneficial for you and I, it's not only beneficial for our kids, but it's beneficial for the entire planet. And I know this is a conversation that, who even thinks about this, but it's an important conversation. So let's talk about sustainability and synthetic braiding hair. So what is sustainability? It's meeting our present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to also meet their own needs. When we recycle, when we upcycle, when we reuse, we are limiting pollution of plastics in our food, in our water, in our air. We are reducing waste. We are conserving our resources. And so if synthetic braiding hair is a kind of plastic that contains all these additional chemicals that complicate the recycling process, and it makes it so that a lot of recycling facilities don't even accept synthetic braiding hair, how can we then recycle synthetic braiding hair? So apparently there are some promising alternatives and options, so let's get into them. So when I looked this up, I saw 4 ways that we can repurpose and recycle synthetic braiding hair, some of which I found kind of interesting. So let's do it. The first thing is upcycling. So I found this one a little interesting. Upcycling. You can upcycle synthetic hair for art and fashion. I watched a YouTube video the other day about a company, I believe in Kenya. I'll drop the link in the description, about how they upcycle synthetic hair and they use it to make carpets. And so it's interesting because there's some carpets that you look at and it's like, oh my god, this is a plastic fiber. So ideas. Artists and designers can incorporate synthetic braiding hair into artwork, into sculptures, into fashion pieces. And so this extends the life of synthetic braiding hair, and so it creates creative and sustainable uses, which I thought was interesting. I have to look more into this. Who needs my synthetic braiding hair? Instead of me throwing it in the trash, I can wash it, collect it, and drop it off to someone and they use it for their art projects. That's interesting, right? So the second thing, specialized recycling programs. So there's some companies that are starting to offer recycling programs specifically for synthetic braiding hair and other beauty products that are typically not biodegradable. And so apparently if you research local programs or even online programs, you may be able to find some facilities that know how to recycle these kinds of plastics better than traditional plastic recycling facilities. I didn't find any near me. I didn't look yet, actually. I need to look. But I did find 2 options where you can actually collect your hair and ship it to them. But we'll get into that later. So the third thing I found was reusing your hair for future styles. So if your synthetic braiding hair is still in good condition after you take down your protective style, you can consider washing it and sanitizing it and storing it for later use, as opposed to going out and purchasing another pack that you're going to throw away. Why not reuse, if it's in reusable condition, what you just took down? And so it goes back to extending the life of each purchase. It reduces the waste and it also reduces the cost, because then you don't have to go and buy another pack of hair. I think I said that already. I don't know. So yeah, that's something I definitely have to consider. But then I realized a lot of times when I cut that, because you know how when you do your box braids, a lot of times you don't have time to unravel the box, you know what I mean, from the tip all the way to the root. And so usually a lot of us, we just trim it, we make it short, and then we take it down. That's usually the most efficient, time efficient way of taking down our box braids. So I guess moving forward, I have to really think about how I take them down. Or if I'm doing like a crochet style, girl, I just snip, take it all down and in the trash. But I guess, yeah, these are good conversations to have. And so the fourth option is contacting manufacturers. So we're talking demand supply. If we encourage companies that make synthetic hair to consider sustainable solutions, like using eco-friendly materials, healthier materials, or to have like a take back program where it's like we can ship them back, our synthetic braiding hair, and this can actually lead to industry-wide changes. If there is consumer demand for sustainable practices, there's going to be a shift in supply where it's like companies start to prioritize sustainable practices. And not just prioritize environmental responsibility, but prioritize consumer health, because a lot of these things that are in these plastics that we put in our hair are not good for our health. Anyway, long conversation. But it's also about creating an environment where we can be our healthiest, where we can be our best. So which one are you gonna do moving forward? I need a desk. So when you think about healthier braiding hair alternatives, finding biodegradable options, there are certain things that pop up. REBUNDLE. So REBUNDLE is a pioneer in the sustainable synthetic hair industry. Okay, they use banana fibers to create plant-based hair extensions that are biodegradable. So they reduce both plastic waste, plastic consumption, reducing scalp irritation that's often associated with synthetic fibers. That is not even disclosed on the packaging, but that's a different video as well. So the company actually has a recycling program, and at the time of me researching this, the program is actually paused, but it collects used synthetic braiding hair to repurpose it into materials like outdoor furniture and decking and other products. This initiative reflects their goal of reducing synthetic hair waste by encouraging reuse and recycling within the beauty industry, which we don't see enough of, which is directly affecting you and I and our kids and our ability to have kids. So all of this matters, I promise. All of this is connected. So I'll drop their website in the description. TERRA Cycle, another one. So TERRA Cycle is known for their broad recycling capabilities. They offer specialized programs that recycle hard to recycle products, including beauty and personal care items. They have various partnerships and they recycle materials that are not commonly accepted in standard municipal recycling facilities, which we talked about. Individuals or salons can participate in the TERRA Cycles program by shipping their used synthetic hair and other beauty waste to be responsibly processed into usable materials. I don't know, there's something I need to look more into it, is what I'm going to say. And then Recycle My Extensions, another one. It's another initiative dedicated to repurposing used synthetic hair extensions. It's not a direct brand, but it's a program that focuses on gathering used hair, which is then cleaned and processed and recycled into new products. And it helps bridge the gap for consumers looking to dispose of synthetic hair extensions responsibly so that they don't end up in landfills. And then of course there's people who don't want to mess with synthetic hair anymore, period. And maybe this is a different video as well, but I'm just going to quickly touch on the healthier alternatives that you have. So the first thing is your own hair. And as I'm wearing my hair like this, let's say 8 months ago, I would always be in some kind of wig, some kind of box braids. And so I'm realizing that at my big age, I don't really know how to care for my hair. I don't know how to style my hair. I don't know anything. So I am pushing myself to learn it by force, because this is the healthiest option that each and every one of us can opt for. But then you think about like protective styles and stuff, and that's a different conversation, because I've been doing so much manipulation of my hair. I need to put it away at this point. But that's option number one. Option number two is Brazilian wool. It's lightweight, it's soft, and it gives you a natural look. It's made from wool fibers, which are gentler on the scalp, especially for people with sensitivities to synthetic materials. It's reusable, and its durability allows for longer lasting styles without replacement as often as synthetic hair. It's also biodegradable, which can make it more eco-friendly than plastic-based fibers like our Kanekalons. Yarn. So yarn is another alternative for braiding hair. It's more affordable, it's very accessible, it's customizable in color. It's soft, it's comfortable on the scalp, and it's easier to manage for certain styles. It's available in a wide range of materials like cotton, acrylic, and blended fibers, which I think we need to be careful about this, because I know coloring and dyes in hair have also been linked to certain endocrine disrupting chemicals, which have also been linked to some health issues. So we have to be careful about all the different colorings and stuff. But I mean, it shows up as being more environmentally friendly than synthetic braiding hair. Some yarn types are acrylic, which is plastic based, but there are options of cotton yarn which ensure fully biodegradable options. I remember I used to use yarn all the time when I was younger, and it's interesting because when I switched to synthetic hair, to braiding hair from yarn, that's when I started noticing all of the itching and all of the issues. And actually me using synthetic braiding hair for so long started to break down like my actual hair, the fibers of my actual hair, right? You know how there's like crown breakage? You pull your hair like so, and it's thicker at the bottom, and it thins at the top. Split ends for some people, but for other people it's actually just back to back to back use of synthetic braiding hair, and it starts to break down your fibers, where the healthiest part of your hair is your new growth. Anyway, so yeah, I've tried yarn before. I'm actually going to look into yarn again. And then another option is the plant-based synthetic hair, which we talked about with REBUNDLE. The only thing with the REBUNDLE is that I've looked at the prices and they're pricey. You know, if we're talking about going from $5 to $35 a packet, and you need like 4 packets, you're going from $20 to $120. And it's like, yeah, it's healthy, yeah, it's biodegradable, but I don't know if there's like some incentives to help REBUNDLE offset the cost. Like if they were able to provide it for cheaper to their consumers, or their programs that can then like give them basically funding to offset the cost that they would lose by making it a little cheaper. And I know it's like it's a business, I know, but at the end of the day, your consumers are what matters, right? You're providing a solution. And so if you're providing a solution but the solution is not accessible, then are you providing a solution? I don't know. What do you guys think? Drop it in the comments. So human hair is another one, but we talked about this also. If you're looking for a more natural option, human hair extensions can provide a similar look and feel. Human hair is biodegradable, it's reusable, it's free from synthetic chemicals for the most part, and it's less likely to cause irritations, but it can be more costly. And there's the theories about, you know, it coming from someone else's head and you putting it on your head, and the soul ties and the spirits. And yeah, so if that's your thing, then that's something to consider. But if that's something that you're just like, I don't really care, then, you know, you don't really care. Yeah, when we're talking about reducing the environmental footprint of braiding styles, these are really good options. And so why now? Why should we even be considering switching up now? So apart from all of the reasons I listed earlier, switching now can seem like a small step, but it can have a huge impact over time. And if it's adopted by not just an individual, but by communities, it can have even bigger impact, the larger shift. We talk about increasing our lifespan. What could be better than that? You know, being able to live longer, being able to reproduce, being able to have our own kids live longer and live healthier lives. You know, lives where they can be present with their own kids. You know, not a life where at 30, 45, you're in and out of cancer centers. And so as more people start to shift towards that direction of choosing more sustainable options, companies start to notice and they start developing more eco-friendly products. Because yes, the air is part of the ecosystem, land and water is part of the ecosystem, but you and I are also part of the ecosystem. And anything that affects air and water and soil affects us. Yeah, and so this is something that I'm gonna have to challenge myself to do moving forward. If I'm looking for braiding hair, can I find like sustainable, eco-friendly options? If I am looking for beauty products, makeup, can I support companies that are going the extra mile to make these things that I'm consuming healthy and eco-friendly? So not only is our health and our wallet gonna thank us, but our planet is gonna thank us, our kids are gonna thank us. If you like what you're hearing here, you think it's helpful and you think it's worth it, please tap the notification bell when you do subscribe so that every time I post a video that I think will be helpful, you'll be notified. And remember that it's not a community without you, so please don't forget to engage in the comments. What is our thing that we like to see on this channel? As long as we're doing our best and with a pure heart, we're gonna be fine, okay? All right. And I guess like ways that we, oh my god, I really need a catchphrase. This elevator pitch is the worst. I really need to get it together. Oh, he's fine.